Lesson 277. Hi, by the way. Hi. We're on lesson 277. It says, let me not bind your son, daughter, with the laws I made. This is a reminder that most of the rules we live by aren't real, right? The ego invents laws of limitation about health, money, time, relationships, even death, and then convinces you that they're unbreakable, right? It's those glass ceilings that we've placed over ourselves. It's that Russian doll effect that I love to use. You know, the true essence of who we are is the smallest Russian doll, but in essence, it's not the smallest, but you get the drill. And then we wrap ourselves in these shells of laws and limitations that we've created ourselves, right? It is literally only us, like you versus you. And the voices that you hear in your head, the stories that the ego is creating that keep you trapped in that particular shell. And this is why this course is so beautiful, because we're removing the shells, right, to connect back to the essence of who we are. So don't be fooled. You know, don't be fooled by the limitations that the ego has created. They're not laws that God has made. I could go so deep on this, but I'm not going to, because otherwise we're just going to enter a whirlwind. Um, but actually, I think I will, because I know Karina will love this. Actually, okay, I'm going to say it. But it's like even things like, you know, we buy into concepts. Remember, everything is story, everything is a story, everything is a concept. You know, we've bought into the illusion, if you like, of gravity. Like we believe gravity exists because someone's told us gravity exists. Now, I'm not saying like go, please don't jump off anywhere and be like, Sammy says gravity doesn't exist, I'm going to fly. But you know, we've been born into a world of limitation, which are just stories because someone said so. Remember when we went back at the very beginning? Like, who says this is a hand? Who says this is a cup? Who says this is a laptop? You know, we get told that these things are all these things. We get told that these laws are all these laws. But at the end of it, it is just a story and or a man-made construct. It's not the truth of who we are, right? Um, so this prayer is to help us release ourselves from the false limitations, the glass ceilings, and the shells that we have put over ourselves. Now, I'm not saying go and try and fly by any means, but you can certainly be aware of where you are limiting yourself. That's it, I think, for me, from me on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Sammy, you touched on just the level that you can take this. The gravity thing is really funny. So I used to watch Ancient Aliens, not like religiously. I just remember like I don't know, maybe there was like 2 days where I just binged some episodes for whatever reason. I thought it was so fascinating because they're like aliens, 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 and like whatever. I'm not like a non-believer in aliens. In fact, I've seen unidentified flying objects and stuff. So I definitely think believe in the story of aliens in the context of what happens in this 3D reality. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is that there's some things where I'm like, but that's why do they automatically assume aliens? Like, why don't they realize like it could be this or this or this based on what I've come to learn and know about the universe? And one of the stories, this is the point I'm getting at because it is about Sammy's gravity thing. There's, you know, we hear about like the pyramids and like how those were built, how it was like we wouldn't even know how to build them in 20 years with our technology. And they say like aliens maybe help them. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Who knows? It's all a story, right? But um the gravity, so there's a, if I remember it's in Florida, there's a home in Florida. Some guy built this like I don't know if it was like a home or a park. Anyways, and he moved these massive monolith rocks to build it without any machines. And they're trying to figure out how he did it. And of course, Ancient Aliens is like, aliens. But I, what rose for me when I was watching that episode was like, well, he, you know, if we create our reality, if our beliefs shape our reality, he probably saw through the belief of gravity, saw through the belief that stones could not be lifted because of gravity. And utilized this understanding to move around these stones without gravity. I don't know what that looked like, obviously. So that's what came to me during that time. And so it's like, why not? Why not? We see those you can go visit caves where there's like somebody stuck their hand on the wall of a stone cave and like it was putty, like they were able to put their handprint into the stone, and people can't explain, well, how are they able to put their handprint into the stone? Because maybe they saw that things aren't solid, that things aren't real, and they were able to manipulate reality, move through those laws and move through those beliefs and move through those rules that aren't actually real. There's a book that Sammy and I have discussed called Illusions. And there's a scene it's by Richard Bach. And there's a scene, I don't think I have it near me. There's a scene in that book, I haven't read it in a long time, but one that stuck out is he's trying to show, there's like the guy who's like the modern day Messiah and then the main character. And I think it was like the Messiah is trying to show the main character that like our perception of reality and our belief shapes reality, and so not there are no rules, nothing is real. And I think there's a scene, I hope I didn't make this up, I hope it is in the book because I'm now starting to think, did I make this up? But there's a scene where he like starts swimming in the earth, like into the ground, just starts swimming around in the ground. Did that happen, Sammy? Do you remember that scene, or am I making it up in my head? I feel like it was from that book. Anyway, if
I
not,
think my memory wouldn't remember anyway, so let's just go with
okay.
it.
For anybody who's read Illusions, maybe you can I could ask ChatGPT, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. Um, so yeah, it's all made up. It's all made up. Even the things that we believe are so solid, so real. Gravity, the fact that you can't, press your hand into stone, can't swim, you can't like treat Earth like a swimming pool. It's all made up. And you think of the story of Jesus walking on water, it's all made up. The idea that you have to sink into the ocean, you can like who walked on water because he knew it's all made up. 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 All of it. So one of the things I wanted to touch on this lesson, I told Sammy I had a lot to say about this one. One of the things I wanted to touch on this was like when you're in the spiritual development world, when you're in the personal development world, when you're in the manifestation where you have manifestation teachers, spiritual teachers, et cetera, sometimes we take those truths as truth. Like we think about like the 12 laws of the universe, or there's also this one version that's like 50 laws of the universe. I think there's another version which is like 9 laws, whatever. I think the 7 or the 12, there's one that's 7. Anyway, there's one that's really popular. I think it's maybe like 7 or 12 laws of the universe. Um, those get taken as like ultimate truth. Well, you still are bound by these 12 laws, but even those are made up. So this is why what I love doing with people that I teach is I like taking them through all the veils, through all the stories, back to their true nature, which is what A Course in Miracles here is doing, right? It's reminding you that you are source, you are God, and that's it, right? That's it, period. End of story. And then we can start going through navigating the world, being in the world but not of it, like that's what Jesus Christ represents, right? Christ consciousness, etc. And then we can start utilizing some of these rules as permission slips, as stories that help us have the kind of reality that we want. So we can start using these as tools if we choose, but we understand that we don't need the tools because it's all made up. It's all rules. So what I see happening a lot is like a lot of these like rules get used as they become limitations, right? You can only manifest if you do XYZ. You can't do XYZ. You have to sacrifice something in order to get your manifestation. That's when I see. You have to go through all these tests. Whatever. There's infinite different rules. And I see leaders sharing these things as like solid truths as reality. And that's what this lesson really is. Let me not bind your son by laws I have made. Everyone's trying to bind each other by laws that they have made for themselves, by laws that they have made for themselves because it's what they believe. Okay, I hit $10 million because I did X, Y, and Z. And if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you'll never hit $10 million. That is binding other people by laws that they have made. Because the truth of the matter is that to hit whatever goal it is, whether it's $10 million, whether it's finding that love, that partner, the love of your life, et cetera, there's infinite pathways to that. It can look however, because all the rules are made up. So what ended up working for one person when they turn it into rules, when they turn it into laws, when they turn it into the only path, when they turn it into you can and you can't, or you should or you shouldn't, they are binding others with the laws they have made. Because the truth is, there's infinite paths to, and infinite paths, right? I could become, I could become worth, I'm just going to throw out a number. I could become worth $500 million overnight, right? And so my path was very different than that person who became worth $10 million through their business. There's infinite paths. So, anyways, let me not bind your son with the laws I have made. So this is a declaration where we are taking personal responsibility to not only not bind ourselves with made up laws, but not preach those made up laws to others, not bind anyone else. Anything is possible for any of us. This is reminding us to, so not just with others, not just not being one, not preaching these made up rules to others, but also when it says, let me not bind your son with laws I have made, also let not this ego bind my true being, my true nature with laws I have made. So that Christ that we are. Let me not bind that Christ, that true pure essence of God, pure infinite consciousness having a human experience in this world, that version that is having the me that is having a human experience that is in this world but not of it. Let me not then bind him or her with laws that I have made. So this is on all levels, right? There's a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, um, which I dive in and out of. I haven't actually read the whole book, if I'm honest. But I listen to it here and there. I have it on audiobook long before self-realization happened, long before I saw my true nature. I picked up the book because it was recommended by somebody, and I was like, mm. But after self-realization, it's really fascinating to listen to because it's like whenever I question, whenever that question creeps in, it's like, here's, if you believe this guy's stories, which I do, talks about these different like gurus and teachers and masters who are able to do these things that we deem impossible, right? Who are able literally to like manifest things out of thin air, hold their palm out, and all of a sudden like a rose appears, able to manifest like things like poof. So it just shows that like not only is it possible as an idea, but there's actually beings out there. There's actually beings out there that are living proof that it's possible. I met a guy in a bar and it wasn't some magician trick or something who like was actually able to do telekinesis. So the first time that I witnessed real telekinesis, not something from a magician. Um, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But truly anything's possible. And then we get to then we get to navigate the world. Once we realize that, then we get to navigate the world. Oh, that's the other part before I wrap up. So from the context of A Course in Miracles, this is really what what miracles are about, right? Miracles are about realizing that we can utilize the tool of medicine as a permission slip, but medicine is not needed for any of it. We can utilize the healing tools, like Sammy and I were talking about tools like EFT tapping, journaling, etc., law of assumption, all of that. You can utilize that as permission slips, but those were never necessary because there are no rules, there are no laws. You do not have to do anything, right? It is already, we are already all, we are already everything. So A Course in Miracles shows us that miracles can arise. I could literally get off this call and be a billionaire. Do I see how like the brain wants to go, okay, well, how is that possible? Event A to B to D, but anything is possible. Anything is possible. Like whatever health issue you're worrying about, whatever could be cured in an instant. Everything else is just stories. Everything else is just made up rules. You have to have surgery. You have to take this medication. You're gonna have to da da da. It's all made up. And I'm not saying, I say all the time, like, yes, see the doctor. Yes, go ahead and take your medication. Yes, go see a psychiatrist. Permission slips. That's the beautiful thing about being in the world but not of it, is we get to play with the tools without, it says here in the book, let us not worship false idols. The worshiping of false idols isn't about worshiping idols as God. It's about worshiping that medication as the way that you're going to be healed, about worshiping the EFT tapping as the only way you're going to manifest. It's about worshiping. See, this is all worshiping false idols because you're making that the source. You're making that the cause instead of understanding the true source and the true cause. I think that's it. I could talk about this for hours. So I'm gonna read. Did I rewrite this prayer? Let's see. Did. Okay. So, ooh, it did. Okay. I'm gonna wing it. We're gonna reword this prayer, but I'm gonna wing it because the version that I wrote, yeah, or the version that I had edited. Your child is free, my Father, my God. Let me not imagine I have bound him with the laws I made, or bound her with the laws I have made to rule the body. She is not subject to any laws I made by which I try to make the body more secure. She is not changed by what is changeable. She is not a slave to any laws of time. She is as you created her because she knows no law except the law of love. Sammy?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love this so much because again, it's that um, your inner child, I think, can really just push the glass ceiling away. Literally, there is no limitation. And I was saying this to the group the other day that I'm in about how I just have this tiny little seed that I've planted that I could just wake up in one reality, go to bed in one reality, and wake up in another. And I'm sure I've said this to Karina before. There's a book that I read called The Midnight Library, and she goes into different timelines and she remembers that she's in different timelines and experiencing them. And so, like, I obviously don't have the belief 100%, but I do have a belief that I could make that happen. And one day I'm actually determined to experience it and to be able to share that. But then I was also like, then I started getting in my head and starting making up stories, but like, allow yourself to like just dream as big as you can because there is no limitation. And yes, it feels, the ego wants to make it feel like, oh, that's not possible. But we know that anything is possible. With God, anything is possible. So don't limit yourself. And right, think the most extraordinary thing you could ever think, so that then when you go and just try and get a sale, it's going to be like a walk in the park. Do you know what I mean? Or when you're just like thinking of something really little, you'll be like, well, that'd be so easy because like Karina, she's going to wake up and have 500 million in her bank account, like, you know. So yeah, dream big. Never forget that you can dream big, because I think the world likes to think us that the world likes, actually, right, I'm going to stop saying that, because me saying the world likes to teach us to dream small is just my own reflection, right? So ignore me. Let us see that the world also encourages us to dream big. That's it from me. Anything else from you? No. Thank you, everyone. Bye.